Now we are going to get started. We have a quorum, and I'm going to ask the author to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're here talking about House Bill 520. The bill is designed to adjust the definition we use in OCGA for what broadband service is defined as. Currently, broadband service is defined as wired or wireless terrestrial service that consists of capability to transmit not less than 25 up to 3 that provides access to internet, computer processing, information storage, and protocol conversion. Very simply, Mr. Chairman, all we're trying to do is strike the prohibitive language of terrestrial service, which is not inherent to the actual function of broadband service, to make sure that it is a more permissive definition of broadband service. So the bill in its entirety is striking one word from one line of one code section. That's removing the terrestrial requirement in the definition of broadband service.
Okay. Small change. Maybe not a small effect, but possibly a good idea. Do we have any questions from the members?
What number are you? 6.
Just to make sure that I understand it, so the word we're taking out terrestrial, what does that prevent us from doing right now?
So, thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. It's a good question. Right now, it's important that everyone understands that if we do strike this word, it has currently no functional change in the way that it's going to, for example, the Economic Development Commission or the Georgia Broadband Authority, they have their own rules and requirements for promoting broadband service. But what it does right now is now and in the future, it limits half of the emerging market. They can't even look into satellite, for example, or some forms of cellular because of the in-ground requirement of terrestrial. And so the whole point of this bill is we've put an automatic limiter on our smart people that are looking to solve these problems by adding the word terrestrial in there, which 4 years ago probably made sense. It was easier to have terrestrial than to put, for example, a latency requirement in there, because satellite service 4 years ago, the latency was so poor, it would have been a waste of resources. But we know that's an emerging market. So all we're doing is again, this is not the code section that deals with the broadband service providers or any of the language that's dealing with how we're contracting or growing rural broadband. This is just the definition of broadband service to make sure that we don't have an arbitrary limiter of in the ground as part of the definition of broadband. So really, I know it was a long-winded answer to probably a very simple question, but it's very simply put, ma'am, we're making sure that in the future, we're not putting an arbitrary restraint on what people look at and how they define broadband. I hope that answered your question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have another question?
Just at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. I guess we'll take a motion.
I'd like to move that we do pass.
You can only read it.
Second.
Oh, okay. All right. From above, a non-terrestrial second. Okay. So we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Okay. Time for a vote. I'm going to go ahead and ask Chairman Werkheiser, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, we got a yes, and then from the committee, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. It's in full committee. Thank you, members. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.